Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. We've got a lot to cover today. We're going to start off talking about our bright future, and then we're going to move towards the challenges of the present. We talk about this a lot, that there are many challenges and even difficulties in our present. But as we push through it, there is a big, bright tomorrow that we will get to, and we will get to it together. So, once again, we have a lot of exciting recent economic development news to share from all over the Commonwealth. Today, let's start in Rowan County with upgrades at the MMRC Regional Industrial Park. So, this $425,000 investment is supported by a state grant of $212,500 and a local match from the MMRC Regional Industrial Development Authority. The project is supporting the construction of a new 150,000 square foot pad in Moorhead that will include extensive upgrades in the site work for grade, drain, and infrastructure extensions. Site construction is expected to be completed by the end of July, and it is incredibly attractive for new industry and new opportunity. Just about every time we've announced one of these pads, much less constructed it, the calls start pouring in. It's a significant announcement as we continue to invest in the sites and resources that will support Kentucky's economy and our future. Commonwealth is home to numerous industrial sites ready to support any company or business looking to expand and grow their operations quickly and efficiently. Our promise, one of the reasons that we're winning over and over, is speed to market. By having a pad already installed, it increases our speed to market advantage, and it decreases the time it takes for a company from the moment they say, yes, we're coming to Kentucky, to when they're in operation. We're committed to giving the Commonwealth every competitive advantage possible to grow our economy and provide good paying jobs. So I want to thank and congratulate Rowan County and their community. They have skin in this game. They came forward with this investment. We were proud and happy to help. Rowan County is certainly on the move. Exciting to see everything happening there. This morning, we also announced that Funai Lexington Technology is growing in Fayette County with a $3.8 million investment. The project is an expansion of the company's facility on Setzer Way in Lexington, including new equipment to strengthen research and development. We focus a lot on R&D because we don't just want to be the workers, but the thinkers of the future. Every new R&D investment that is made means more innovation is happening here. And listen, companies grow where they innovate. So this is pretty exciting. The investment will also support the upgrade of semiconductor processing equipment and increase production capabilities. In particular, it'll allow for upgrades to the company's micro-electro-mechanical system, which helps develop precise liquid handling devices for a range of applications. Funai is a great company that was founded in 2013 in Osaka, Japan, having acquired inkjet technology from Lexmark to conduct its research. So thank you to Funai for this investment in the Commonwealth. Speaking of high-tech jobs, there are those that we bring to the Commonwealth, and there are those that we grow in the Commonwealth. So I also want to highlight some exciting news as we build out Kentucky's portfolio in these advanced fields. We recently announced 7 innovative Kentucky companies are receiving nearly $900,000 in state matching grants as part of our SBIR-STTR Matching Funds Program. This program provides crucially needed capital for promising early-stage tech companies based in Kentucky or companies committed to relocating to the state. Remember, every major tech company out there that we talk about at one point was an early-stage tech company. This is our possibility and investment to try to grow these companies and grow them here. The full list of awardees includes 3P Biotechnologies Incorporated, Creo Incorporated, Invictus Informatics, and Pascal Tags Incorporated, Aviation Safety Resources Incorporated. The first group was in Louisville. Aviation Safety Resources is in Nicholasville. Gen 9 Incorporated in Covington, and Orb Technologies LLC, which is in Lexington. These grants allow us to further grow our technology industry and create quality jobs in some of the highest paying fields. To date, this program has created more than 700 good paying jobs, 45% of which have annual salaries over $50,000. Kentucky's match recipients have generated more than $42 million in sales and licensing revenues. So as we continue to see the tech industry grow throughout the Commonwealth, creating an environment that allows them to thrive is critical. So I want to thank everybody who had a hand in this latest round of funding. I can't wait to see what these companies do. This is good, thoughtful investment. And as we move forward, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the tech companies and industries we have in Kentucky. I think there is a misperception that we do not have or compete in this area as much as others do. And I think that perception is false, and correcting it is good both for Kentucky and our Kentucky families to know the exciting things going on, as well as to make us even more attractive to companies around the world. We also have a pair of distillery groundbreakings to highlight. First up is Augusta Distillery in Bracken County, which broke ground earlier this week and was really fun. The company's new operation in Northeast Kentucky, by the way, is one of the most beautiful towns that you can ever find. It is a wonderful area to spend a weekend, if not more time. The new operation is a $23 million investment that's generating 14 quality jobs in what's already an amazing experience in that town. This is Augusta Distillery's first full-scale operation in the Commonwealth, and it was incredibly exciting to celebrate its new state-of-the-art facility on Monday. After seeing it firsthand, it is going to be an incredible addition to the Commonwealth, to the Bourbon Trail. I believe they're going to be the only river cruise right there on the Ohio that is done by a single distillery. A whole lot of options for tourists and others on the Bourbon Trail or coming into Augusta. Kentucky's bourbon and spirits industry is seeing unprecedented growth, and projects like this show that the trend is not slowing down. It is a $9 billion signature industry. It's generated more than 22,500 jobs, annual payroll exceeding $1.2 billion. Neat set of couples that own and are running this facility. Nick Clooney is their spokesperson. They've done a great job of bringing in the community as investors. This is a project really being done well, being done right. Really thrilled to have them a part. We also have New Riff Distilling, which broke ground on a new warehouse in northern Kentucky. New Riff was founded in 2014 and introduced its first products, which are delicious, in 2018. The company now distributes bourbon, rye, and gin to 16 states, and the business continues to grow. Leaders at New Riff are investing more than $10 million to construct a new barrel storage warehouse in Campbell County to meet growing demand. The project is creating 5 new jobs upon its completion in 2023. This follows growth at the Newport-based distillery, which is a really neat building and operation, which in 2021 added 3 new fermenters and increased production to 12,000 barrels annually. That was a 50% increase in production. This is a 55,000 square foot rickhouse, the latest evidence of their continued success. Know the owners of New Riff. They are great people. They're doing it well. Love to see their success. And finally, we have an important announcement for Graves County and the surrounding area. This was the community at the center of last December's devastating tornadoes that disrupted and continues to disrupt lives of so many Western Kentuckians. Including among the devastation was the Mayfield Consumer Products Production Facility, which took a direct hit from the tornado, resulting in the loss of life and a total loss of operations. In the months since, the company's leaders have worked with the community to build back and to set the foundation for a brighter future. Today, we're announcing that the leadership of that company is investing a total of $33 million in the company's second location in the Graves County Hickory Industrial Park. Over the coming years, the manufacturer of candles and other home fragrance products will employ more than 500 people full-time. This expansion will reestablish the company's employment base in the region and adds to the overall rebuilding efforts so that many people across the state and beyond our borders that have helped over these last 6 months will see a future. And that future has to include jobs and good jobs across the area. This won't be the last announcement that we make on the jobs front, either in Graves County or in the surrounding area in the coming months. So please know that we're not just working hard to rebuild homes. We're working real hard to rebuild an economy, or maybe push it even further, knowing that a good job is the reason that people will stay in that community or even move into that community. We've also got some great news for our workforce to share. Recently, we released the May 2022 unemployment rate, and it is our new historic low of 3.8%. That is the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That might sound familiar because last month I was able to announce a 3.9% unemployment rate, which was then the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That is back-to-back months where we have set historic lows in that rate. But let's delve into that a little further, because today I can confirm that we have the fewest number of Kentuckians on unemployment since May of 2000. Folks, that's more than 21 years. Today, the fewest number of Kentuckians on unemployment benefits in 21 years. Even better, today, with our report out, 107 Kentucky counties saw their unemployment rates drop even from last month. Kentucky's economy is surging. Jobs out there that we need to fill, and really exciting for the opportunities that our kids and our kids' kids are going to have. The surge has made a positive impact on our labor force, which is now the highest it's been since pre-pandemic. And that's great news for our Commonwealth, because it means more folks are getting back to work. And our employment rate is also the highest since pre-pandemic at more than 1.9 million. This is all good news. It's good news in where we're going. And it also shows what we need to do to get more people in the workforce, and where we don't need to be laying blame. See, during the last session, the legislature passed House Bill 4, a really cruel bill that just chops safety nets for people that have lost their careers out of no fault of their own. Remember, unemployment doesn't help people who quit, who are looking for a different job. It helps people that are laid off after decades often of working at a facility and want to get the training they need so that they can move from that career to another career and not just the next job. Well, the rationale for that really cruel bill was that too many people were on unemployment and that was keeping them from working. That is simply not true. Again, lowest unemployment rate in our history, back-to-back months, fewest people on unemployment since May of 2000. What that means is that we've got to address the true root causes that we're seeing right now. One, admit that our boomers are retiring, the largest demographic in the history of the world, and that's going to make an impact. Second, childcare. Universal pre-K would have been our fastest way of getting more people into the workforce. It added 10% in 1 year when they did it in Washington, D.C. I hope that we will see a state legislature willing to make that investment here in the next year. Second chance employment, going to be critical moving forward. Whether someone suffered from addiction or had challenges with the law, looking at second chance employers and how we can ultimately get those folks back in. Then an expansion of the concept behind everybody counts, that every single graduating senior from our high schools across the Commonwealth, we ought to either be able to place in higher education or in a really good job before they graduate. Right now, there is a good job out there available for everybody. Let's try to put everybody in one of those good jobs and not simply try to kick people when they're down, when not only is it wrong, but it won't work. All right, on the infrastructure side, also good news, because yesterday was a monumental day, not just for the people of Henderson, but for all Kentuckians, as well as Hoosiers, as well as travelers throughout the United States. We celebrated the beginning of the construction of the first section of the I-69 Ohio River Crossing Project. See, this is interesting because it's the beginning of the actual crossing where we are building our full approach up to the bridge, but it's also the last part of the I-69 project for Kentucky. So it's both the beginning of this stretch, but it also marks the last segment of what we've got to do to get this done. My family roots are in Western Kentucky. I know how long the region has waited for this. That's why I made this a promise from the start. Even in my campaign, I think we mentioned it in if not the inaugural speech in our very first Commonwealth address and State of the Commonwealth, that we were going to build the I-69 bridge to 4-lane the entire Mountain Parkway and to get that Brent Spence Companion Bridge funded and moving forward. These are the types of investments that make sure that every part of our Commonwealth can compete. And I will tell you, the people of Henderson and Western Kentucky, our Hopkins County Judge were up, see this as a key to unlocking so much potential. I mean, look, Pratt Paper is already down there, a $600 million project, 320 new jobs. When we announced that, biggest investment in Western Kentucky in 25 years, incredible paying jobs, cleanest recycled paper mill on planet Earth that we're building there. But that can just be the start. This project is a collaboration too. It's a collaboration between Democratic and Republican governors, between two states' transportation cabinets, between mayors of Henderson and Evansville, who were both there. It was a really great moment to remember that when we stop trying to push this or that right or left and focus more on moving forward, there is a lot that we can accomplish. This is a major economic development project, just like the recent letting on the Mountain Parkway as we move even further, just like our application to the federal government on the Brent Spence Bridge. I mean, this could be, in many ways, I call it our Eisenhower moment, more investment in public infrastructure to set us up over the next 100 years. It's really exciting to be a part of, and everybody is in. So it doesn't matter the party, doesn't matter the type and level of government. Certainly, the I-69 project has been supported by every senator from both sides of the river, every representative that has represented the area. All right, so that is a big, bright, exciting future. These new jobs, lowest unemployment rate in 20 ever, fewest people on unemployment in 20 plus years. Huge infrastructure projects that some thought they would never see happen are happening. So the future is bright, but the present is challenging. You know, today is tough. Tomorrow looks like it could be really good. So we got to push through today. And part of that is about doing everything that we can here in state government to help our families get through. And I'll start with the price of gas again. You know, it's tough, and it's tough on families, as well as the price of food, as well as inflation that's hitting other parts of our economy. I want to start by recapping some things that we have done. I will admit, as a state, it's really hard to push down inflation that's hitting a nation and a world. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. You know, just because people say this won't solve all of inflation doesn't mean that you don't go out and do your best every day to try to help Kentucky families and to do what is in your power to help them get through today to that bright tomorrow. So here's a couple things we've done. Specifically on the price of gas, earlier this month, I sent a letter to top administrators at the EPA and requested they grant a waiver to remove the RFG requirement in Louisville and the surrounding area. You know, on top of the price spike, the supply there is facing a crunch. And so we believe that it is the right time for a temporary freeze on that program. Listen, reformulated gas does help cut down on pollution, and that is important. I believe in clean air. But this times that we're living in right now, the families in those areas may be struggling at the end of the month to buy food or medicine. And so we've got to understand in really tough times that sometimes we have to readjust the balance. RFG can cost families as much as 20 to 30 cents more per gallon. The EPA has come back and has said no, but no for now. We're going to continue to push. We're going to continue to provide them data when they ask, and they say that they will watch the supply. Second, earlier this month, I signed an executive order declaring a state of emergency over baby formula. with a shortage that has impacted a number of Kentuckians, and it's got to scare a lot of new parents or parents of very young children. The order activated state price gouging laws, which aim to protect our families. Now, that formula shortage is mainly attributed to initially an FDA shutdown of a major manufacturer. Now, I believe a further shutdown due to thunderstorms. But by implementing our price gouging laws, we can hopefully prevent any gouging moving forward, and we'll continue to work with the federal government to see what can be done to increase the supply. Talked to a grocery store owner just the other day on one of my trips, and they said that it's worrisome, but they still have product, and they've still been able to meet their family's demands. Last month, my administration filed an emergency regulation to freeze the state gas tax. Listen, that's a little different than what's being discussed on the federal level. Gas was going to go up. It was going to go up because of a state law, and we couldn't let that happen. I have limited power to make gas go down, but this was a moment where it was going to go up because of an act passed by the state legislature. So we stepped in and we froze that, knowing that it would have just caused more harm to Kentucky families. You know, people always want to run down things you try to do to help people, but it's going to save Kentuckians $35.4 million. Also in February, I signed an executive order that stopped an increase in vehicle property taxes that was a result of soaring car values. That's going to save Kentuckians $340 million. And remember, during that legislative session, knowing that the cost of things were going up, I tried to reduce the sales tax. I mean, that directly impacts the price of things. And it helps everybody, whether at the end of the day they make enough to pay state income tax or not. It would have saved Kentuckians $873 million and would have made things less expensive. Unfortunately, the legislature did not join us on that. And pushed the federal government to suspend the federal gas tax. And I think that they ought to. Listen, we can't say that gas prices are in part caused by federal policy. And then when we look at what the federal government can control, say, oh, that won't do anything. So we've got to push forward and look at all the options that we have to help our families. Today, I'm taking another step. I'm signing a state of emergency on gas prices here in Kentucky. With the state of emergency in place, consumers in the Commonwealth can report price gouging to the Office of Attorney General, and under state law, price gougers can be held accountable. You look at AAA, which reports multiple times the record highs in May of 2022, and it kept going in June with an average of $4.79.8 on June 11th, $4.73 on June 20th. Diesel fuel on June 20th was $5.85.1. I mean, given all this, I recently asked the Attorney General to give us some feedback on whether or not to activate these price gouging statutes. In response, I learned for the first time that his office had received 263 complaints against price gouging since January 1st. And 22 of those complaints had reported prices of 10% more than the prevailing price in Kentucky at that time. Now, that letter does say that, any help might be minimal. I'm willing to do what it takes to provide relief, even if it's minimal. So today, I'm taking this action because I believe strongly that even minimal relief is better than no relief. And if we are going to hold somebody to task, like I was able to as Attorney General for price gouging, the baseline price is only set when I sign the state of emergency. By letting it go further, it'd make it even harder if people out there are gouging us. So I'm going to sign that declaration of emergency that activates the price gouging statutes right now. One more. So under current law, the price gouging will last at least 30 days, but we can look at extending it through a number of different methods. Also today, I'm announcing we will be extending the state of emergency in terms of price gouging for baby formula. It's something that is still far too hard to get, and it's critical that we have these protections in place. My hope is that it will prevent any gouging and all gouging. And in many ways, one of the best outcomes would be that we don't have to have investigations and prosecutions, but not doing it would potentially allow people out there to take advantage of our families at one of their most difficult moments. Before we move to the next thing, I just again want to mention some programs that are out there to help people. Remember, if we can help you on your rent, on your mortgage, on your utilities, that frees up more money for food and for gas. Please, if you need help, ask for it. Go to folks that can help you apply for these programs. They're the Team Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund that can help with both past and future rent. It's the Homeowners Assistance Fund that can help on your mortgage. Both of those have components where you can get help on your utilities. It's the Affordable Connectivity Program that can help reduce your internet bills. Kentucky Child Care Assistance Program that can help you pay for that child care that you need so that you can get to work. And finally, your local community action agencies have a ton of different ways and programs to help out. Our challenging present can be even more challenging for specific areas hit by emergencies. So I want to update Kentucky families in Marion, the city of Marion, on what our administration is doing to help address the city's water shortage. For some background, Lake George is the primary reservoir for Marion's residents and businesses, and it needed to be lowered and drained because of a levee failure. I remember getting updates that day. If we had not done a controlled breach of Lake George, we believe it would have wiped out the earthen dam. That would have gone downstream and wiped out their backup for water, which we'll talk about in a minute, as well as some bridges and some roads. Not doing it was not an option, given that it could have made the situation even worse and caused significant additional damage. On top of that, the city saw limited rainfall and unusually warm weather, and an initial plan to address it did not work as was hoped by local officials. Let me say, these local officials, elected and appointed, are working really hard. They care about their residents. They are working directly with us, and they want to do everything they can to provide water to their residents. On June 18th, hours after I received the request from city government, I declared a state of emergency, which allowed for a lot of what you see here. The National Guard and the Transportation Cabinet have already delivered significant amounts of bottled water. And in fact, we had a bunch left over from the tornadoes in Western Kentucky, where other counties brought them to help out. We're also looking at other contracts where we're going to be able to continue to provide as much bottled water as needed. We're going to be distributing it through the National Guard Armory. It looks like we're also going to be using National Guard vehicles to try to at least fight evaporation in their secondary, we call it reservoir, another lake, by transporting water. We are still finalizing where that water is going to come from. So the National Guard working very hard on that. Yesterday, I visited Marion to meet with Mayor Jared Byford and City Manager Adam Ledford, and Judge was there, the Judge Executive, and other local officials, a number of city commissioners. We had the head of emergency management, Colonel Slinker, National Guard, Department of Water or Transportation Cabinet Secretary, everybody there to offer every bit of assistance. So we looked first at Lake George and then at City Lake. That is the backup where they're now pulling their water from. Unfortunately, they learned through this that there is less of a supply in City Lake than originally thought. But we are looking at alternatives on how to keep that backup as high as we can to fight evaporation, which is real significant when it's this hot, and talked about a number of other options, definitely looking at other surrounding cities and water districts and what it would take to get there. So listen, what the people of Marion want to hear is that we're going to get it fixed, and we're working on it. Short-term fix is probably going to be very different from the long-term fix, but you have all of state government, every level that deals with emergencies, working right now directly with city officials to try to find the best ultimate solution and to take care of people up until then. In fact, what you saw just a second ago was an area being built by the transportation cabinet, so those National Guard water trucks can pull up to refill City Lake, which is their backup lake. And by refill, right now we're hoping just to fight what's lost from evaporation, which is pretty significant. Today, I'm also announcing in Western Kentucky another way that the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund is helping those impacted by deadly tornadoes this past December. First, I want to thank everybody that's donated to this fund. Currently, more than 150,000 individuals and organizations from around the world have contributed to the fund, raising $52 million to assist in long-term recovery. To date, more than $26.5 million has been distributed from the fund to individual Kentuckians and families as they rebuild. First thing we did is pay for every funeral, so no one would have to worry about that as we grieve together. Then we announced a partnership with 3 major nonprofits to rebuild 300 homes over the next year and a half. We sent payments to every insured and uninsured homeowner and renter that had qualified through FEMA, that had proven that they had damage, that helped them on top of their FEMA award. Earlier this month, on the 6-month anniversary of these storms, we handed over the first 3 sets of keys to homeowners of the first fully rebuilt homes. Thank you to Homes for Hope, which is the group that helped do that, Homes and Hope. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we're going to be providing up to $3.25 million from the fund to help farmers in Western Kentucky continue to grow and process grains after their local grain elevator was critically damaged by the tornadoes and won't be usable this harvest. This started with the Graves County Grain Assistance Program. That's what this program is going to be called. And it was established after Graves County Judge Executive Jesse Perry and some local farmers. I want to mention a couple because they really came with the solution. Mitch Guthrie, Robert Whitford, addressed what they were facing. And for them, what it's going to mean is additional costs for everybody who used this granary over and above inflation. So normally they'd have to transport it to the granary. Now they've got to transport it to the river, which is significantly further away. Their extra costs just to do what they were doing before are significant and are a direct result of that business being almost entirely wiped out by the tornado. So what this is going to do is help local family-owned and operated farms that use the local family-owned and operated Mayfield Grain Company, which bought corn, soybeans, wheat, and canola from approximately 200 local farmers, and it's going to help them while they are repairing. At full capacity, Mayfield Grain stores over 6.5 million bushels of grain, but it's not going to be able to do that. Now farmers are forced to travel 50 miles or more to the next grain elevator. So the potential loss is significant. This is a program that we are setting up that's going to provide a certain amount per bushel this year to help defray those extra costs. And I encourage Kentucky farmers who conduct business with Mayfield Grain to get more information about the Graves County Grain Assistance Program, which is bigger than just Graves County if you use that granary, and apply for assistance on the website listed on the screen. As a reminder, we're still accepting donations to the fund. It helps us do things like this. I think we're going to be able to give assistance up to 50 cents per bushel, which was what the farmers said could help. Really appreciate this local solution being brought to us. Also want to address public safety and additional steps we're taking to fight violent crime. Our administration's top priority is to protect Kentucky's families and our communities. And we've taken various steps from original law enforcement training and how we went about it, to new salary schedules for the Kentucky State Police, ensuring that we have enough good raises, the largest raises in a long time, to an increase in the CLEP fund so we can have enough officers on the street. Now, we are announcing a new program called Military to Law Enforcement, where we're able to recruit our military heroes into law enforcement and provide these agencies with the officers they desperately need. The initiative will allow active service members within all branches of the U.S. military to be hired by local law enforcement agencies in Kentucky during their last 180 days of service. The service member will continue to receive pay and benefits from the U.S. military while they undergo law enforcement training. The program will help law enforcement agencies save as much as 6 months of salary and expenses, and it benefits both our veterans and law enforcement at a time when we see too few people ultimately submitting applications to be peace officers. The Military to Law Enforcement initiative is truly great for our veterans. It shows our gratitude, and it brings talent here to Kentucky. Since taking office, we've awarded almost $8 million in grant funding to assist state and local law enforcement agencies. We were able to get through those $15,000 raises to state troopers. We allocated $12.2 million to equip the state police with body cameras, and this is just another step to ensure we have what we need to protect our families. All right, two last pieces. First, our Team Kentucky All-Star, which today I'm pretty excited to announce, is Hannah Edlin, a teacher, a public school teacher from Northern Kentucky, who was just crowned Miss Kentucky 2022. Hannah's an incredible story. She's the first in her family to graduate with a bachelor's degree from NKU. After graduating, she became a 6th grade social studies teacher for the Covington Independent School District. She earned her master's from UK in educational policy studies and is now pursuing a PhD. In her spare time, I don't know how she has spare time, Hannah wrote a children's book with a childhood friend. Hank, the Horse and the Case of the Missing Eggs is about a horse who goes on a journey to discover the power of information literacy skills. Hannah's truly a Team Kentucky All-Star. She and a number of other competitors and representatives actually met with us before the competition. We are really excited for her and look forward to seeing everything she will do. And now, I think in the past, we've only had one Team Kentucky no-star, our least valuable player, and that was Winnie, after Winnie was skunked. But last week, I think it was Monday of last week, we had a new Team Kentucky no-star or least valuable player, which was the ceiling in the state dining room of the governor's mansion. We had a full collapse of what we believe to be the initial original ceiling, where, thank God, my family had gone to Kentucky Lake for a couple days. We were 30 minutes into the drive there, and no one else was in the room at the time. There had been some roof damage, so the table was outside of it, and thankfully, it did not cause nearly as much damage to any of the furniture as we thought. But the damage that it could have done to people would and could have been really significant. We are at work fixing it and making sure that we can get people safely back inside, but a real blessing that no one was there at the time. And we're committed to getting this historic building that is shared by all Kentuckians back in shape to host people again in the near future. With that, we'll open it up for questions. We got two journalists here. We'll start with Carolina.
As far as gas prices go, is there anything else? I know the federal government obviously is doing their thing. You just signed the state of emergency. There's still so many people that are just wondering, when is this going to go down? It's still so high that these little things, they're not making as big of a dent as they normally would.
Yeah.
Anything else that can be possibly done?
Well, governors were on a call with Ben Bernanke the other day, who's the former head of the Federal Reserve. I think he was 10 years in that role. And he said a significant portion, especially of what we're seeing in gas, is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And some of us might wonder how, when the U.S. doesn't get its oil and gas from Russia. Well, all of our allies in Europe do. And we are asking them to not take those Russian exports, to not support a country that is waging such a vicious and terrible war. So we are providing them with a significant amount of our oil and gas, which is raising the price everywhere. Part of what we're seeing right now is not likely to subside until that war is hopefully ending or nearing its end. And we've got to understand that stopping a dictator always takes sacrifice. And we're not being asked to send our sons and daughters, but we are being asked to endure some economic hardship to ensure that we never follow that appeasement strategy. Again, we saw what that did to our world. Now we're going to continue to look for every other opportunity we have to lower gas prices. And you think about gas prices a lot because it's a sticker shock. But if we can save Kentuckians $1 in another area, we're looking at all different types of permitting and other things. Where can we find ways to save Kentuckians $1? Then they can use it to apply there. You know, our goal is to help our families get through a tough time, to reach a much better time. And all this is temporary, but that doesn't mean it's going to be over in weeks. So, Tom.
Thank you, Governor. With the various states of emergency, with the baby formula, and also with gas,
yep.
What are the penalties that violators would face?
Violators can face significant damages in court, which is typically the outcome. I was able to secure a price gouging settlement that ultimately came from Katrina. That case had been going on for a while. There have been other cases that have gone through against specific gas stations as opposed to wholesale providers in the past as well. They are significant, and they're significant enough to where our hope is this will prevent anybody from doing it. Without having it in place, we would not have that protection because the statute doesn't even apply until you sign the state of emergency. So I think it's really important to do it as we're apparently, and I just learned, getting a lot of complaints, as opposed to when it is too late. Josh James, WUKY. Josh James dropped off. Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. So obviously no COVID report today, and that sort of, with my prepare question, sort of leads me to say, is it time to quit talking about it, quit tracking it? Is it time to treat it like the flu? And what is your COVID advice going forward if that's where we are?
That is a really good point, and I missed it. It is not time to stop talking about COVID. It is a time to learn to live with COVID, but understand that while most of our state is green or yellow, there are red counties. We need to be thoughtful if we are traveling to, doing business in red counties, what steps that we take. We have seen a plateau, if not, we hope, a decline in new cases and positivity. Again, we're watching hospitalizations that ticked up just a little bit, but don't seem to be in any type of regular increase. And thankfully, ICUs and ventilators are still down. So no, we need to watch it. But again, this is something that we are learning to live with, and it's a blessing that it appears that overall number of cases is no longer directly connected to amount of serious illness, hospitalization, and the rest. Best thing everybody can do is get vaccinated. We are still seeing, and we can go over this next week, huge advantages in terms of cases, in terms of overall outcomes if you are vaccinated versus not vaccinated. I actually had somebody share a very personal story with me about getting vaccinated, but getting vaccinated late and being just fine, but having some family members that didn't and are no longer with them. None of us want to go through that. So please, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, if you haven't gotten your first booster, if you're over 50, if you hadn't gotten your second booster, go out and get it. Debbie Yetter, Courier Journal.
Hi, Governor. As I'm sure you're well aware, the U.S. Supreme Court appears
Debbie?
poised to overturn Roe v. Wade. Are you hearing me?
We can hear some feedback, Debbie. We're trying to get you in clearly.
How about now? Nope.
Yeah, Debbie, it's muffled. It's probably on our end. Let's try one more time. All right. Debbie, we'll have to get you an answer to your question offline. My apologies. It must have been a really tough question. A whole lot we went over today. But folks, we both got a lot of good things going on for our future. And we got a lot of challenges of our present. So we're going to keep doing everything we can. Sometimes we hope it makes major gains. Sometimes, even if it's minimal gains, I want to make sure you know that we hear you, we're working for you, and we are doing everything we can to try to help all of us get through today to that brighter tomorrow. And it looks like I'm now going to have to clean up a little plaster in this room. Thank you all very much.